Hi guys, I'm back again today with with a continuation to the story of Ruby Frank. And yeah, this is the part 2. But for my channel, this is probably part 3 because we split up part 1 into 2 parts, but I'm not going to make it complicated. So, before we start, don't forget to subscribe, click the bell button, and let's continue. I'm really intrigued because where we left off in the first episode, it wasn't like it didn't sit right, right? It didn't explain a lot of things, and that's the reason why I'm back because I really need to know what the Familama happened. So let's go.
Bada bing, bada boom.
They say that spirits all have something that they want. And ever since Jody Hildebrandt moved into the Frankie household, just weird things have been happening. People are hearing footsteps inside of the walls. That's what it sounds like.
Oh, by the way, I've been seeing things like people are coming for a girl, Stephanie. So I don't know. I guess those are the people who don't actually like read up on the situation, or they just don't watch, they don't hear, they don't read, they don't understand, and they just are biased towards something. So if you say something wrong about the thing that they like or the people they like, they just don't want to hear it. I guess, yeah.
It's hard to explain, but it sounds as if someone is inside of the wall just walking around through the walls. The Frankies obviously didn't check inside the wall, but it's starting to freak some of them out. Whatever it is, it feels like Jody brought it into the house with her, whatever these spirits are. And now she's sitting on the bathroom floor while the dad, Kevin Frankie, is shoving a camera in her face, documenting this allegedly torturous situation, while Kevin's wife Ruby is sitting next to this middle-aged Jody Hildebrandt holding her so that Jody doesn't accidentally harm herself. This happens maybe once a day, maybe a few times a day. It's like another being just enters Jody Hildebrandt's body and starts controlling her movements. And it's so easy to tell because immediately Jody Hildebrandt's eyes get pinched closed and she starts breathing heavily. She looks like she's in pain. She looks perhaps even constipated. Today she's on the floor with her hands fisted into balls and she's slamming it down onto her chest. Ruby is gently trying to stop her, but nothing's really working. By this point, they've tried everything. I mean, Kevin was known as the resident exorcist for a minute, trying to cleanse Jody of whatever evil spirits are following her around. He says, I would place my hands on her head, and then I would command the demons to depart. And then I would state every name of Jesus Christ that I could possibly think of, and those evil spirits were very reactive to those names. It became very clear. The minute he would start saying those names, Jody would thrash and hiss and wail and growl at people. It was like she was being hurt every time Kevin said one of those names. What is it that the spirits even want? It doesn't make sense. Why Jody Hildebrandt? Jody lays there. Her eyebrows are crunched up in pain, and this new voice comes out, and it comes out like a deep, aggressive voice.
She's mine.
What did she just say?
She's
mine. She's mine. She knows. I own her.
She knows. I own her.
These are all recorded.
Yeah. Who is she that Jody Hildebrandt is talking about? What does she want to do with her? Perhaps she's talking about Ruby Frankie. Maybe she wants Ruby Frankie to be hers. And maybe she's gonna do everything in her power to make sure that she is hers. This is the case of Ruby Frankie and Jody Hildebrandt, the therapist and the YouTuber that were arrested for child abuse for holding 2 kids captive in the basement and torturing them. We would like to thank today's sponsors who have made it possible for Rotten Mango to directly support a survivor, Jessie Hildebrandt, who endured abuse at the hands of their aunt, Jody Hildebrandt. Their information will be in the show notes if you'd like to share your support as well. This episode's partnerships have also made it possible to support Rotten Mango's growing team, and we would like to thank you guys for your continued support. As always, full show notes are available at rottenmangopodcast.com. Today's case involves some very well-known names in the family vlogging world, Ruby and Kevin Franke, plus their 6 children, best known as their channel name, 8 Passengers. All the minors in today's case have been protected and will simply be referred to as either boy, girl, or just their first initial. We will be using the names of the 2 eldest children, Sherry and Chad. They are of legal age. They've publicly spoken out about Ruby and Jody. And additionally, Sherry recently published a book that I read, and like I said, you need to get 10 copies of this because no coverage of any news station, any documentary even compares to the truly visceral way. It's like such a vulnerable way that Sherry is able to convey her feelings about everything that's happened. And she does it without, there's so many points where it's very depressing to read, but ultimately the amount that she's shown to have grown from this is inspiring and incredible. It's one of those books that I think we will all be thinking about 2 days after reading it, 2 weeks, 2 months, and even 2 years down the line. Also, I believe she narrated the book herself, so if you're more into audiobooks, that would be a great way to listen. As for content warnings, there are descriptions of food restriction, child abuse, CSA, religious abuse, therapy abuse, as well as just overall abuse and torture in general. Now, side note, there is going to be a lot of conversation about the LDS Church in these episodes. Ruby and Jody were devout members of the LDS Church, or at least they claim or they thought they were, but they should not be used as representations of what the faith means or how it should be practiced. We are also not here to discuss the LDS Church or faith as a whole. I personally don't have much experience, but like with any religion, there's going to be bad people that do bad things, and sometimes, if the establishment protects them, I do think that there should be consequences for all those parties involved as well. With that being said, this was originally supposed to be a 3-part series, but with the addition of Ruby's personal journals detailing the torture, Kevin's claims that he did not know the kids were being abused, as well as just all the online conspiracies discourse, there's another woman that a lot of people want to be arrested in connection with Jody and Ruby. This is like the 3 Musketeers, and people online are saying you've only arrested 2 of the 3 Musketeers. So there's a lot of discourse there. Now this is going to be part 2 of the now 4-part series. Please go watch part 1 if you haven't already, and that's in depth onto Ruby Franke's YouTube career, the channel 8 Passengers, how they go from making millions of dollars to just being canceled for suspected child neglect, and all of the video proof that Ruby Franke is a pretty horrible mom. In this part, we will be going over Jody Hildebrandt and how she likes to force divorces as a so-called marriage counselor and how she likes to ruin people's lives. In part 3, we go over the torture house that is her $5 million mansion in the middle of nowhere. And in part 4, we will go over all of the online conspiracies as well as the prison calls, how passionate netizens have been that something needs to happen to both Kevin Franke and Pam. There's a woman named Pam. So with that being said, let's get started. Do you think that you can pinpoint when exactly you made the worst decision of your life? Because marriage counseling is ruining Adam Paul Steed's entire life, including his marriage. Not even in the marriage counselor is biased and she keeps siding with my wife that a lot of husbands like to argue. It is so much worse than that. Marriage counseling will kickstart a chain of events that has Adam kicked out of college, hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, hated by every single person he knows, and in jail.
What?
He's holding his little daughter in his arms when the officers arrive. This is a protective order. We're gonna have to take your child. The little girl starts screaming, "Daddy, no, Daddy, no." And the authorities, they more or less just rip her from Adam's arms. He has no clue what the hell is happening right now. In exchange for his child being taken from him, Adam is now branded the most evil person in the entire campus of BYU in Utah.
How old is Adam?
He's in his early 20s. He's a college student.
Okay, and the kid is?
1.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, now if you see him on campus, it's like seeing Satan himself just walking casually through the corridors. He's evil. You know, he's got like a 500-page honor code file in his name, which Okay, side note, BYU is a religious institution. So while a lot of institutions, they have honor code offices, they're typically for policing the academic integrity of students. Whereas BYU, you could basically start a file for your roommate if you caught them watching thirst traps, or if you
Oh.
catch them.
We even have like clothing inappropriate when it's sleeveless, revealing. Well, I guess it's their code of conduct, so.
Basically start a file for your roommate if you caught them watching thirst traps, or if you catch them secretly drinking coffee, because
reporting
BYU
self?
is sponsored by the LDS Church. The honor code includes behavioral standards established by the church, like caffeine intake. There's not a single drop of tea or coffee that you're going to find on the entire campus. Yeah.
So what do you drink? Energy drink?
No, you can't even drink energy drinks. They love soda. Yeah, that's why soda shops are a big thing in Utah.
Like sugar? Just sugar
Yeah,
highs?
just straight sugar, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, Adam's file
Diabetes?
is now 500 pages long. The notes on his file are dated. There are detailed notes of phone conversations between the Honor Code office and witnesses that are calling in to explain Adam is too predatory to be left in this university. Which is a very bold statement to make. I mean, they're saying that the longer that he's a student here, the more people are in active danger. Adam and his wife, let's call her Mary, that's not her real name. She's also a student at the university. The two of them, they have a 1-year-old daughter and another baby on the way. And Mary is actually the one that starts the honor code file in her husband's name, Adam. She walks in one day and she reports that Adam, her husband, is delusional. He is controlling. He has violent tendencies. She tells the honor code office that she's concerned about her husband taking baths with their young daughter. She says it's because he's a victim of sexual abuse when he was a kid. He does not have a healthy understanding of boundaries. Again, this is what she's saying. And one time, he asked that I take the baby out of the tub. They're taking a bath together. I take the baby out of the tub, and he was trying to hide his erection. That's what Mary is claiming. She said from then on, she had to be in the bathroom at any given time that Adam was alone with any of the kids. And Mary is just scared of him now. And it's not even just Mary that Adam is scaring. Mary claims that she has this marriage counselor, a therapist. And Adam is threatening the therapist too. Like, they're both terrified of Adam. Naturally, the honor code office, they want to talk to the therapist. And she's an open book. She tells them, well, listen, Adam and Mary came in for marriage counseling. And it was very clear from the get-go. I mean, due to Adam's behaviors, it was just going to go downhill. The file reads, the therapist advised and explained that Mary wanted marriage help. At first, the story was a common theme of a wife struggling to understand her husband's problems with self-pleasure and porn consumption. However, the therapist quickly became alarmed because Mary had been convinced that by Adam, that whatever Adam was doing was not anything wrong, that this is just the way that men behave. The therapist states she believes Adam is manic, and with the encouragement of therapy, Mary has been trying to set boundaries and be more assertive with herself in the relationship, and Mary had, quote, began to waken up to what was acceptable behavior and how confused she had been and how off track Adam has been. The therapist is explaining to the honor code officer, I mean, Adam is masterful at keeping Mary in this constant state of confusion. The notes continue. The therapist explained that Mary felt too threatened to comprehend or connect with the seriousness of some situations. But once Mary started putting in boundaries, Adam did not like that. And that's putting it mildly. The therapist states he's psychologically unstable. He has an intense delusional fixation on me, the therapist, and he keeps saying that I'm the Antichrist. Which sounds alarming, right? And he's violent. The therapist strongly asserts that she's just scared that the two of them have kids at home. One example that the therapist gives to the honor code office is that Adam held their infant daughter over the 3rd floor balcony, and he was just giggling. He was like, oh, holding you over the 3rd floor balcony, haha. He thought it was a funny joke. The therapist claims she would not be surprised if he does anything drastic to Mary or the kids so that they don't leave him. He is just so extremely manipulative, pathological, narcissistic, and dangerous. The therapist explains that out of all of her years, treating thousands, honestly, thousands of married couples, I've never been terrified of a client until Adam. There was this One instance where they were both in my office and I was so physically threatened by him, I had to position myself between him and the door so that I could make a hasty escape if I needed to. This was the first time in all the years that I've been a therapist that I've ever had to do that. She goes on to allege that not only has Adam Palstead essayed his own wife, but also their 1-year-old daughter. She states confidently with her whole chest, Adam is the most dangerous person that I have ever met in my life. He is very clearly a predator. That therapist's name is Jody Hildebrandt. When Adam first looks into Jody, his potential new marriage therapist, he does like a quick Google search on her just to see what's going on. She is one of the most recommended therapists in the Wasatch Front of the Mormon Church for like the past 20 years, honestly.
Wow.
Her website sounds good. It says, my style is compassionate yet direct and clear of what is necessary to fully change and champion any addictive or self-destructive behavior, whether it be ravenous addictions, feelings of inadequacy, conflicts in relationships, intimacy problems, communications and breakdowns, and frankly, block anything that prevents having and creating peace and joy. At the bottom of her website, the banner reads, what you do is not who you are. I don't even know what that means. Her resume on paper seems great. Bachelor's in English, graduate work in educational psychology, earned a master's degree. Then she worked at Cirque Lodge, which is a nationally known drug and alcohol treatment center, which is frequently visited by celebrities. It's expensive. It can range from $30,000 to $100,000 to get treated for 1 month. 1 month. And Jody would not stop talking about it. She claims that she treated Paris Hilton, not for drugs, but for bad behavior at the school the camp, if you will, that Paris Hilton was sent to that was terrible. But
She was there, working there?
yeah, that's what she claims. Now, Adam did think that it was a little strange how little she cared to protect clients' information, but maybe it's because Paris Hilton's personal life has been all over the tabloids since forever, so it's not actually breaking any patient protection laws. It is weird, though, and Adam did think it was weird. Besides, it's fine because Adam and Mary, they're going in for marriage counseling. They've been married for 2 years when they're recommended by a church bishop to go see Jody. The church bishop is like, oh, that's a good one. Adam says Jody was very charismatic right off the bat. Mary's instantly obsessed. She's really happy that she's working on herself, and Adam was just excited for his wife because he thinks maybe Jody is a good fit. She's firm, but she seems very wise in a fun way. She doesn't mind laughing and making jokes so that the message gets delivered. I mean, for a church-recommended therapist, she doesn't seem like she takes herself too seriously, at least in the beginning. As for Adam's relationship and marriage itself, there's just a lot to work through, just a lot. They're trying to balance being new parents while also being college students. They have a 1-year-old. Mary is pregnant with their second. They're both students at BYU. They're both Mormon. But for Adam's wife, she's not even just religious. It's not, church on Sundays. Her dad has a very high standing in the church. So there is pressure for them to be the best LDS church members out there, which naturally is not the healthiest. Adam says that whenever he Googled something, if he even saw for like 20 seconds, okay, maybe he Googled it. Maybe he Googled a naked woman's picture for 2 seconds, and if he looked at it for 2 seconds and he had a quick lustful thought about it, he would call his wife and apologize profusely. Like you would think that he met another woman at Motel 6. He's saying, I feel terrible. What I did was terrible. This is terrible. It probably doesn't help that Adam's entire start to their marriage is just rough. All of Mary's family members hate Adam. They were against this marriage to begin with from the get-go. Adam was one of the biggest whistleblowers of the LDS church. And it's not that he turned against the faith. He's like a devout LDS member, even at that point. He was assaulted by a higher-up in the LDS church when he was a child. He was one of the first few victims to kickstart a decade-long chain of almost 93,000 victims who have come forward with essay claims against the Boy Scouts of America.
Wait, 93,000 victims?
Have come out against the Boy Scouts of America. Now, it gets very complicated because you're like, what does the Boy Scouts have to do with the LDS Church? Adam was one of the first people to try and get some justice. So quick context, the LDS Church was the largest sponsor of the Boy Scouts of America. Scouting was considered a big part of the youth development in the church. So about 1 out of every 5 Boy Scouts were of the LDS faith. They were essentially sent by the church as part of their church youth activities. Now, there are LDS higher-ups that also hold significant positions in the Boy Scouts executive board. If you are an Eagle Scout in the Boy Scouts, which is like the top 5% ranking, it is a badge of honor at church. So they're 2 separate organizations, but not really. They're very merged together. Adam Paul Steed grew up in the LDS Church. In fact, his dad works as a seminary teacher for the church. They're very serious. When he's 14, he goes to a Boy Scouts camp in Idaho where he is essayed by a scout leader, but who also happens to be an LDS church leader named Brad Stowell. After the essay at the camp, he tries to report it to the Boy Scouts leadership. They don't care. Adam straight up calls the police himself. He's like, come get this guy. He's very brave. He's 14. Now, he admits, Brad Stowell admits and confesses to molesting not just Adam, but 24 boys, and he pleads guilty. He receives a dainty little 150-day jail sentence. That's about a week per boy that he abused.
What is that? Is it because he's like under a religion that can protect? I don't even know what to call it. That can protect him. That's why they gave him a short sentence, or like what? I don't understand. If it was someone else, you're going for life.
a week. That's it. What kind of jail sentence is that? But how did he get away with essaying so many boys? Adam and his father, they go to the church higher ups to report the abuse because he's also a higher up church leader, Brad the abuser. I mean, he's not just a scout leader. He's heavily involved in the LDS church. He has a leadership position. So according to Adam, when he brings this to the church to report it, the church does practically everything to shut Adam up. Which, why? Because apparently, years prior to essaying Adam, Brad confessed to essaying a 6-year-old boy. His LDS bishop, church leader, sent him to, quote, counseling, and then later stated, "You are cured," and allowed him to keep working with children. I think with any massive organization, at least, I think religion is beautiful, but sometimes it can provide ways for people that should not be around children to be around children. And that's going to happen anywhere in any religion. And I think in this situation, the chain of command, they all should be punished. I don't think that this is representative, hopefully, of the LDS church as a whole, but this whole chain of command, whoever his bishop was, that was like, "You are cured," is crazy as well. Now, it's alleged that even after he was, quote, cured, there were more reports, more warning signs that people have reported, hey, this Brad guy is really creepy. But the Boy Scouts and the church, they ignore it. They even cover it up. So when Adam and his dad, they try to get justice from the church because how do you let him still be around children? The church turns around and allegedly pushes the family out. They fire Adam's dad from the church as a seminar teacher, and they're just pushing this issue too much. They don't like it. They feel like if other victims come and seek help, it's just gonna start getting messy, allegedly. And Adam, this little boy, instead of
At this point, it's not about God anymore. It's about, I don't know what they want, popularity or money. Because if it's about faith, you're not gonna just ignore someone just because you want to keep your name clean. It's not about your faith anymore at this point. You're all going to hell, to be honest. Like I'm sorry, but it's crazy.
getting the support that he needs, he starts getting treated like a money-hungry liar. Like he is just out here to get money
There
from
we
this
go.
church that has about $1 billion. I think they're worth like $1 billion, the church. Yeah.
Oh, they mean
Adam and his
you
dad
mean
do
Adam?
not give up. There's a lot of respect, honestly, for the two of them now in the LDS community and just everywhere else. Adam and his dad not only fight tooth and nail for justice, and they help other victims come forward, they fight to get laws passed. So this gives an extension of the statute of limitations for SA victims in the state of Idaho. Prior, if a child was SA'd, they would have to report the abuse before their 23rd birthday. Adam's advocating, his dad is advocating, they get a law passed in Idaho that you can report it at any point in your life now. There's no statute of limitations. which the LDS church allegedly really hated. Really hated. Just curious, why would you not like that? No accusations, just thoughts. Just kind of weird. Now, even though Adam is a victim of the abuser that belonged to the LDS church, it appears nobody cared to help him. Nobody wanted to do anything. The backlash to telling the truth, demanding justice, trying to get other victims to get help, his whole entire family has to relocate from Idaho to Utah because it was that bad. They were shunned. That is where Adam meets his future wife, Mary, at BYU. They get married, they have 2 kids now, and everyone is telling his wife, even before the marriage, that Adam is a terrible person. I mean, he did all of these weird, shady things to try and make money. The alleged church leader that tried to suppress Adam, President Hillam,
I wasn't talking about Adam when I talked about money. I was talking about the people who try to hide the fact that that guy, you know, did what he did to kids, and he's still part of their, and him himself. Of course, that chain of people.
he ran the whole Boise, Idaho temple. He was in a leadership position. He also was heavily involved with the leadership of the Boy Scouts. He did everything, allegedly, to cover up the abuse. Coincidentally, Hillam is very close friends with Mary's parents, who are also very high up in the church. So they're doing everything to try and prevent these two from getting married. When Adam heard that his fiance's family hated him, he said, I was depressed for a couple of days. And then I remember just being like triggered because I was a victim of child abuse. And I just remember thinking, I don't have problems. I'm not like that. I'm a good person. And I remember some terrible moment. I went online and I looked at Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition. And then I called my bishop and I went into this repentance process. I called my wife. I told her I wasn't worthy to get married. But nevertheless, the two get married, they have a 1-year-old, and now she's pregnant with their second child, and their lives are about to get harder, so they need guidance. It is natural to seek help. It's admirable to seek help. They get referred to Jody Hildebrandt, and that's when everything starts falling apart. At first, the changes are really small, but Adam does notice it.
So Jody likely knew Adam's history, like this whole thing.
Yes.
And she's involved with all these leaders, right?
Yes, and she wasn't as involved with all these higher-ups, but it's alleged that she saw Mary as a way to get even more influence in the LDS church.
I see.
Adam says his wife would just confront him all the time, just out of nowhere, confronting him with abstract things, like very vague accusations. You're in self-denial about your own addiction. What does that even mean? Adam says, I just have a million questions. I mean, it doesn't even make sense. What addiction are we I was never diagnosed with any sort of addiction, nor was I actively struggling with one. Sure, he has PTSD from the abuse he suffered as a child, but what the hell is his wife on about? But Jody starts telling them that everyone has an addiction. Every single person has an addiction. Whether it's food or reading the Book of Mormon too much. Yeah, you can do that apparently. Every single person has an addiction. She's explaining to these marriage counseling classes that Adam and his wife are a part of that every action that you have comes from addiction. It's rooted in addiction. Most of the time, you don't even know that. It is the cause of every action that you take. Are you jealous about your friend doing something? It's an addiction that's causing the jealousy. Are you gaining a few pounds on vacation because the food is delicious? No, it's actually an addiction. It may not be obvious at first, but that's what Jody's here for, right? To get to the bottom of your addiction. For example, Jody would teach if you have to spend time not thinking about something, like a picture of a naked person. The fact that you have to not think about that proves that you're an addict. In other words, all this resistance.
So basically, we're all addicts. We all are addicts because I try not to like snack a lot. So I'm addicted. I mean, yeah, in a sense. I guess maybe she's right. Oh my gosh, is she right? Are we all addicted?
Of white knuckling not to think about the magazine on the aisle of the grocery store. The fact that you have to not think about it means you're a sex addict. Which, by the way, she's talking about like Playboy magazine. She's not even talking about Hustler magazine. Another huge belief that Jody teaches her married couples is, from the beginning, Jody tells every single married couple, relationships have to die so that it can be reborn again. It's like a resurrection.
How do you do that?
Separation. It's the concept of only if your relationship dies, only then can it be reborn. It kind of makes sense. Adam says because of the worship of Christ and his resurrection in the LDS faith, in theory, this whole theory of relationships dying is almost too perfect. But Adam soon realizes, quote, if the relationship or marriage didn't die on its own, Jody would kill the relationship in any sociopathic way alive. After a few weeks of being in a big group setting with a bunch of married couples and Jody, now it's time to graduate to the next step, split the couples up. Husbands go off into the men's counseling group, wives go off into the women's counseling group, and that's where things just start going off the rails bonkers. Adam is placed in a group setting with other husbands. Jody is leading it. These other husbands, week after week, are just confessing in the man's group. They're just confessing to the most heinous predatory crimes. They're confessing to having thoughts about SA, child abuse, incest. Adam is traumatized. He's a victim of CSA. He does not feel safe in this group, but Jody does not care. She tells him, actually, you're on the same level as these people. He's like, no, I'm not. I don't have predatory thoughts. These people are predators because they're confessing to these predatory thoughts. I'm a victim of CSA. I feel triggered when I'm in this group. She's like, no, you're in denial. You're just as bad. I'm going to help you see the truth. This escalates until 3 weeks after giving birth. Adam's wife is understandably in a very sensitive state. She's vulnerable. Adam says Jody starts digging her claws just deeper. She starts helping Adam's wife identify how she's the victim. Mary was likely very confused. Like, what do you mean I'm the victim? It's the, oh, sweetie, you just don't know it yet. That's what Jody's saying. Jody would tell Mary that she had been conditioned by Adam to believe that a husband who looks at a naked picture here and there is normal. It's not normal. It's basically the same level as cheating or domestic violence, if not worse. So of course you cannot trust him around your kids. She's trying to tell Mary it's the same as if Adam killed someone, you know? Would you forgive him and just hope that he doesn't kill someone else? Or maybe doesn't kill you or your baby? Adam is so taken aback to be treated like a predator. I mean, he had to uproot his whole life after being victimized as a child, and he's still trying to work through the trauma, and his own wife is treating him like a perpetrator. Mary eventually tells Adam, it's your addiction, you just don't see it. Side note, Adam has only seen about 2 hours of porn in his entire life, but his wife is acting like he is an addict of these videos. Mary tells Adam that he was never a victim of child SA.
The wife is telling him?
That never happened to you. You're in denial because you have an addiction. You made up that story because you have an addiction. By this point, Adam is trying to convince his wife, that's crazy. Like, that's crazy. I'm not an addict, especially not for sex. And she knows that he would never lie about what happened to him. So in this desperate attempt to try and save his marriage, Adam agrees to his wife's conditions on how to save their relationship, which is they need to break the relationship so it can be resurrected, remember? Jody instructs them that they cannot talk to each other. They can only talk to each other in a group setting, and they need to break the relationship in order to rebuild it. Adam suggests getting a second opinion because what kind of crazy therapist even suggests that as a marriage therapist? But Jody tells him, see, that's your addiction speaking. The addiction knows that you are solving your addiction by coming to me. Of course, the addiction doesn't want you to keep going to me. Addiction is a parasite and it wants to keep being fed. Mary rejects his idea. She's like, no, I'm going with Jody. Now, again, this is just from Adam's perspective. Mary has not said her side of the story, but it seems like there are, I mean, he's got files of evidence. He was on a big podcast called Mormon Stories, where they've been really covering the Jody Hildebrand, Ruby Franke case. That 5-hour-long interview with Mormon Stories with Adam has been taken down due to a court order. So it's a little.
Why? How so? What's going on?
There are speculations that Mary did not like being spoken about. But Mormon Stories, when Adam went on there, he gave every single file that he had. Police reports, the 500-page Honor Code Office file. He gave lawyer statements, every court order. He gave everything. He gave Jody Hildebrand's therapy notes that he subpoenaed. He gave everything. So it's still alleged, but I just putting that out there. Now, Mary allegedly rejects this idea. From this point forward, she says, we're not going to really live together. Like, we're going to live together in the same apartment because we have 2 kids together, but we're not going to speak unless Jody is present. She even goes as far to allegedly give Adam a letter that says, "As of today, I am no longer willing to take upon me the responsibilities that come with being your spouse. I set the following in boundaries in order to protect myself from expectations that are not being met in this relationship. I will no longer do these things for you as a wife. Cooking, cleaning, laundry, dishes, picking up stuff after you, reminding you of any of your responsibilities or appointments, assisting you in your schoolwork, spending family time, sharing intimacy, sharing a bed, engaging in any kind of physical touch beyond the social acceptable boundaries of friends. I will consent to share our apartment as living space. I will consider to have my responsibility to take care of myself and our 2 children, and I will not consider it my duty to inform you of my daily activities or plans." They have no physical, emotional, mental, or even verbal contact for weeks. And then one day, out of the blue, allegedly, Mary, the wife, asks Adam to give their baby a bath. So he goes, gives the baby a bath, and he says, quote, "She totally walks into the bathroom in her lingerie." Like, I just remember thinking, oh my God, she's finally listened to me. We're gonna get back to our normal life and stuff. And she starts teasing me and acting like she was gonna hop in the tub with me, and I'm holding our baby, our 1-year-old. And I was like, hey, you gotta get the baby out of the tub. And I'm laughing, thinking it's funny. She leaves with the baby. She comes back into the bathroom, looks at me. She looks at my private parts, and then she looks at me in disgust and just turns her back and walks away.
That is wild. What is going on?
That is
torture.
the alleged honor code reporting of he had an erection in the bathtub.
But even if it's true, then this whole thing is
Like a setup. It's entrapment. Yeah.
But even why is that even necessary to, I don't know. It's weird.
This bathroom incident, the motives behind it become even clearer later. But Mary, his wife, is turning into a little soldier for Jody, is what it appears to be. Adam doesn't even recognize her anymore. For example, Adam and his wife had this trip planned to go to Yellowstone. They're bringing some friends there, one couple from Brazil. They just had a baby, the couple from Brazil, and they don't have much money because they're exchange students on top of all of this. So Adam really wants to do something special for the Brazilian couple, and he's like, oh, we're gonna go on this trip and I'm gonna help you guys pay for it. Like, I will pay for all the food on the trip. It's a big moment for Adam to be able to finally do something like this and to, I don't know, do something special for his friends. But when they get to Yellowstone, Adam promised his wife that they were going to stay within an entire budget for the entire trip. Now, I believe most of the money that they were spending was Adam's. He did get settlement money from the Boy Scouts of America, but it wasn't a lot. It's not like he's rolling in it. And he also does not spend lavishly. At this point, he's hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt because of Jody.
At this point?
So at this point today.
Oh, today.
Yes.
Okay.
But at this point, when they're in Yellowstone, he has a little bit of money and he doesn't spend it lavishly. And this is one of the times that he just wants to spend money on his friends. Like, this is a good reason to spend money. They realize when they get to Yellowstone that all the food prices are astronomical there because it's a tourist zone. Everyone is hiking up the prices of all the food. Adam says it's fine, but Mary starts freaking out, telling him that he is violating the boundaries of their relationship because he wants to feed his friends. He says, I remember driving like 4 hours around Yellowstone trying to find a grocery store that was cheap enough so that we could feed my friends and her baby was crying. And finally, I got so upset. I said, I can't listen. I have to do this. And my wife was screaming at me. I went into the grocery store and I bought a bunch of food to feed all of us with, and her newborn baby that was crying. I mean, they were just humiliated. Adam is like, I don't know who this woman is, but it's not my wife, Mary, and I'm going to get my wife back. But 3 phone calls is what ruins everything. The first call to the police happens after a big fight between Adam and Mary. Mary is on the phone with the police, frantically telling them that her husband is physically abusive. Okay, ma'am, what's going on? What happened? He violated the boundaries of the relationship of the marriage. What did he do? He left his backpack on the couch. A few things. I mean, one, the police were just like mouth agape, shocked. Secondly, I think this goes to show how far off the deep end Jody has Mary. Because to confidently call the police and say that this is a transgression, that is an act of domestic violence, if not comparable, like, you cannot be in a place where your brain is functioning normally. That's how bad things are. She genuinely believes the cops are going to handcuff Adam, log in his little backpack into evidence. It doesn't even make sense. The next day, Mary calls the police again on Adam.
Oh God.
This time, she allegedly states that he physically abused her by pushing against her, which is very interesting wording. Like, did he push you? What do you mean he pushed against you? She states, yeah, well, I was standing here by the door. And they ask, were you blocking him from being able to leave the apartment? Well, yeah. Did he hurt you? No. The police leave because Adam has been incredibly patient during all of this, but he finally decides, okay, that was the second time. I'm not going to do this anymore. Like, you got to stop calling the police on me. You're publicly humiliating me. I mean, not even if the police do anything, a lot of people are just going to assume that he's violent and abusive and that the police are just being incompetent. So Adam decides he's just going to get his life back. And that means sleeping on his own bed for once. He had been sleeping on the couch. He says, I paid for the house, I paid for the apartment, so I went into my bedroom and I slept on my bed. I said to my wife, if you don't want to sleep next to me, you don't have to, but I'm not going to sleep on the floor or the couch anymore. He was just tired of being treated like this subhuman being. Adam's wife calls the police and states that Adam attempted to essay her that night. What did he do? She says, well, she felt like he might essay her. The police don't do anything because, again, it's not a threat. He didn't say it. He didn't try it. All he did was sleep in his own bed that he has every right to, and she was just having a feeling. When this does not work the way that Mary and allegedly Jody likely intended, Mary just disappears with their 2 kids for a little bit. Now, again, this is alleged at this point. I think, like any video, you have to come up with your own conclusions, do your own research, listen to Adam share his story, and Mary has not publicly spoken out about it, so but you get it. Now, Adam's 1-year-old baby, 3-week-old baby, his wife, they're just gone. So after a few days, he files a police report because he thought they'd been kidnapped. And Adam says he went and talked to Jody about what was happening and how heartbroken he was and what's going on with the kids and Mary. And he says, I just remember being in this agonizing pain, feeling it intensely. And I remember looking over at Jody and she was smiling. Her cheeks were blushing.
So at this point, he's not resentful of Jody yet, right? Does he think something is wrong with Jody as well, or?
It's like a mixture of, he knows that Jody is telling her a lot of things clearly that aren't making sense, but at this point, he's kind of confused more than anything. He doesn't know what's going on behind the scenes between Jody and Mary, but it's just confusing. So from there, Adam's wife starts reporting Adam for actually trying to abuse her and the kids, likely just making up insane stories that Jody is feeding her. She gets a protective order against Adam and lures him to meet up with her afterwards. So he gets served this temporary protective order. And then she's like, hey, come meet up with me because I like you. Like, maybe we can work this out.
But he will be in bigger trouble, right?
He goes and she reports him for breaking the protective order. She's also going to the BYU Honor Code office to report him for violent and predatory behavior. So not only is Adam facing expulsion from college, he's facing a likely divorce and 20 years in prison for breaking his protective order. He's trying to tell his church leader, you have to help my family. I mean, you have to read through these files because none of this is true. Like, this protective order is not true. I don't know what's going on. To which the bishop just responds, a woman doesn't just run away from her husband unless there's something. Adam is just looking at him shocked, like, what are you talking about? You know me. The bishop is just staring at Adam. Do I know you? What? Are you talking about, like, you think I'm, like, physically violent or I'm sexually abusing her? He says, the bishop smiles. The fact that you just said that makes me know that you're guilty of those things. It is like every single person in Adam's life had just decided to turn him into the devil. He starts looking online, trying to figure out what Jody's problem is. Why is she suddenly on this warpath to kind of destroy his entire life? And reviews for Jody Hildebrandt, the negative ones, read, she reminds me of an abuser in an abusive relationship. She isolates her clients by setting up unrealistic expectations so they believe all their friends and family are toxic, leaving them to only depend on her and her, quote, support phone calls. It makes me sad to think about how many relationships she has poorly hurt.
Does she break relationships so that the client stays with her and then she tries to fix it? But obviously it will never get fixed because if it get fixed, you wouldn't go back, right? It's like when you leave the dentist office and they offer you like candy and you're like, oh, what's the point of all this? Is it that kind of situation? It's like how People who own pharmaceuticals are the ones who own fast food chains, giving you the sickness so that you run back to them and all that shenanigans. Is that her tactic in sales? Because that's evil. That is evil.
Another. She's not worthy to be trusted with your marriage or relationships. My wife went to her counseling and classes, and the main result was that Miss Hildebrandt brainwashed my wife that I had an addiction when I did not. My wife was so certain that I was hiding something as a result of this woman's lies that we had to go to an honest counselor to help dispel the dishonesty that Jody Hildebrandt had told my wife. Do not go to this woman. Go to a specialist who respects both members of the marriage and does not spread so-called empowering lies. And another. I have a very different history with Jody than most. I'm a pretty well-known therapist, and I trained under Jody Hildebrandt for a year. As I trained under her, I saw her tear apart families and destroy relationships. I believe she is truly evil, and I don't say that lightly. I have done so much therapy for people coming out of her, quote, cult, who were traumatized by her therapy. I don't have an axe to grind, but I am tired of people getting hurt by her work. I'm reluctant to speak out against colleagues and other therapists. However, I wouldn't mind somehow, some way helping people see how dangerous this woman is. But nobody is willing to listen to Adam or anybody else that has said anything negative about Jody. Adam was referred to Jody by the bishop from the church. Jody works as a therapist for this massive company called Lifestar, which, side note, the bishop, the church bishop that recommends Adam to Jody, the bishop's brother owns that chapter of Lifestar, which is already a massive conflict of interest. It just adds to all the foul characters in this case. Because the sick part is, Adam gets money from the settlement from his abuse case for things like therapy, and the bishop knows that, and it's like he's thinking, well, why not give that money to my brother by going to his business where they employ a bunch of therapists? And it's not cheap or affordable. It's like $500 a week per person. And that's not even individualized therapy. That's to join a men's group with a bunch of other husbands. And then you have personal sessions that you have to pay for. That's 1 to 2 additional sessions per week. Between Adam and his wife, Mary, I mean, they're spending thousands of dollars per month to work with Jody. Lifestar itself has its own controversies. It's known for being a network of LDS therapists, and some have said, if you go to Lifestar and you've ever seen like a naked body depicted on any sort of media, God forbid that you've ever watched explicit videos, you're an addict and you're gonna need to enter a lengthy 12-step program. Many therapists in the network also believe that if you ever self-pleasure, you are technically cheating on your partner. And this is a grave instance of infidelity and you need to join a support group. There have also been accusations against Lifestar that they will, if you have health insurance, they will diagnose you with an actual DSM-5 recognized diagnosis, because porn addiction is not one. I know that a lot of people do struggle with it, but porn addiction is technically not one. So they'll diagnose you with other things in the DSM-5 so that your insurance will pay for it. Allegedly, that is the accusation that has been levied upon them multiple times by internet users. Which, side note, I think it's fine if someone believes it's not in their beliefs to take part in self-pleasure or consumption of explicit materials. I think we should respect everybody's choice, especially, only if they're adults, right? But to actively go around shaming everyone, condemning them to the deepest, darkest depths of hell for doing it, I think causes more harm. And for Adam, it was kind of like that. There was this never-ending idea that self-pleasure is one of the greatest evils in the world, like right up there with murder. He says, there was a lot of guilt and shame behind self-pleasuring and explicit material in the church. I mean, I had a lot of guilt and shame. As a kid growing up, I discovered self-pleasuring a few weeks before I met Brad, and just on my own, quietly. From then on, I just always believed that God had sent this pedo into my life to punish me because I was sick. So that's how ingrained and how damaging it is, that it made him believe that he deserved to be a victim of SA as punishment. And now he's recommended by the church to Jody, and she's telling him that he was never abused, that he's the addict here, the bad one. And now he has to show up to court to refute accusations against him about the whole bathtub incident. He thinks the whole thing is crazy. I mean, Mary walked in with lingerie. He wanted her to put the baby to sleep so that they can have consensual adult time, and she accuses him of CSA of his own child. He is a victim of CSA. He walks into court and the worst conflict of interest is sitting right there, right next to Mary. There's Jody Hildebrandt, the therapist, but also Elder Halam, the higher up in the LDS church that when Adam was 14, he tried to allegedly shut Adam up for the abuse that he suffered. Then later, he tried to prevent Adam from marrying Mary. He's just sitting right there, right next to Jody Hildebrandt. Which, you know what, with all disrespect, we hate Elder Halam. And unfortunately, if you want to send him a non-threatening but scathing message of how his soul will burn in the depths of hell for the rest of eternity, he's dead. Fortunately, he's probably there burning.
Why is he there? They just all kind of linked up and...
Exactly. Adam is facing 4 felony charges. Each is a 3rd degree for violation of a protective order, domestic violence enhancement. And Adam states, these are all the lies. He has to now spend $250,000, go through all this trauma, fighting all these allegations just to plead guilty to an attempt to break a protective order, which is a misdemeanor. He had to pay a fine, no jail time. He did spend like a few days in jail because they briefly arrested him right when he broke the protective order. But he technically pled guilty, which means everyone in Utah and the church thinks that he's this crazy abuser that was never abused as a kid, just creating chaos wherever he goes. But later, they will find evidence that some really dark things were happening between Mary and Jody. They allegedly found evidence that they were trying to manufacture evidence on Mary and Adam's child to accuse Adam of SA. So remember the incident in the bathroom? They were trying to enhance that with evidence, allegedly.
What did they find? Like text messages?
Obviously, these are not available to the public. Just descriptions of it make it seem like there is evidence that shows Jody and Mary trying to get the daughter to pose in a way and to say, like, Daddy did this to me. Training her, if you will.
It's gonna traumatize her even more.
Mary and her attorneys use Adam's psych evaluation that showed how bad the abuse he endured in childhood was. They use those documents to now try and take his children away from him. So, side note, they also just go around showing his documents to everyone, just with extensive details of the trauma he endured, just letting everyone read it like it's book club. And Adam says, the worst part is they used it against him to say that he's not fit to be a dad. He says, think about it. A victim comes forward, tells the truth about the hell and the trauma. Maybe he's a decent person, but this is really traumatic, and they use it to punish me, try and take the kids away. He says they kept arguing that because I was a victim of sexual abuse, I wasn't able to be a safe parent. They twisted it into something heinous to just stab him with. Now, an additional side note, Mary at one point accuses Adam of being gay, which in itself is obviously not offensive. But Adam has SA trauma from when he was a child, and it's likely that he has a very complicated relationship, or did have a complicated relationship with his sexuality, because he was abused by a monster who happened to be male. And being from a faith that typically condemns gay relationships, it's likely further complicated things for Adam as a victim. There was just no bar too low, no bar in hell too low for Jody and Adam's now ex-wife, Mary, to just target Adam. Emails between Jody and Mary were uncovered in Adam's fight to exonerate himself from the accusations. So the two, Mary and her therapist, Jody, are writing to each other about the contract that Mary is going to give Adam. They're going back and forth of like, oh, you should say we're living together but technically separate. This is crazy. Mary emails Jody, I wrote up this contract yesterday afternoon after our meeting. It's still a work in progress. I'm open for any suggestions. Thanks. Jody responds, this looks good. The more specific you can be, the better. But this looks good as a starting point. I will share this with him this evening if you would like. They later add stipulations that Adam cannot withhold funds from his wife and that he is not allowed to see any other therapist outside of Jody.
What? No.
Consider that they grow into these huge trees that produce at acorns.com/rotten. Now, side note, since we're here, fuck the honor code at BYU. I'm sorry, I'm not sorry. Adam had a few friends targeted by the BYU honor code office just because they were friends with Adam, allegedly. One female friend was called in because Mary reported her for adultery with Adam since their divorce had not finalized yet. She was asked about so this female friend of Adam's is also a survivor of CSA. The honor code office asked her for hours, grilled her about the essay that happened to her during her childhood. We don't even know how they knew about it. She never told the honor code office that, so maybe they got church records, church files about it, which is crazy. She was interrogated over her past trauma. Then she was accused of having an adulterous affair with Adam, to which she adamantly denied. But they called in Mary, Adam's wife, and she confirms, no, I know they're adulterers, okay? They're having an affair. To which point, the honor code office is trying to ask, like, do you know what adultery is, right? Like, it's when people do it, like they're having physical relationships. Mary just responds, oh, well, then maybe they didn't have an affair. Maybe it was just spiritual and emotional. The next friend targeted by the honor code office is Seth, one of Adam's best friends.
My
now, by
head
this
hurts
point, it feels like anyone who is
listening to
friendly with
this.
Adam is going to suffer too. Truly, to try and alienate him is what I think. Adam was sharing custody over the kids. Not legally, but I think it was more so agreed upon. And Seth came with him to see Mary. Mary grabs, allegedly, a giant shell the size of a cinder block and throws it at Adam. He quickly dodges because he's holding their baby in his arms, and Seth wrote a statement about it to the honor code office saying, hey, you know how everyone is reporting Adam? Well, guess what? Mary just tried to kill him. Maybe not that dramatically, but you get the point. They turn around and the honor code starts questioning him if he's a sex addict. Also, Seth is a chef. He cooks with wine sometimes, as one does. They accused him of hiding an alcohol problem and being addicted to sex. They told Seth if he keeps hanging around Adam, they will kick him out of the university. They go after like 5 of Adam's friends for, again, the sole reason that Adam is around them. And also, at one point, the BYU police sent by the honor code office came and grilled, interrogated Adam for about 2 hours, asking incredibly intense questions about the abuse he suffered when he was 14. What does that have to do with anything? But it was traumatizing. He said, I felt so filthy and gross after that. It seems like the honor code office did not realize that Adam could subpoena their records, which he does. Adam says he will never forget the day that he was accused of essay of his own child. He says, how I couldn't even breathe. I mean, I had a panic attack in the parking lot afterwards. So there's a clear conflict of interest everywhere here. He subpoenas the BYU honor code files on him, which Jody clearly breaks patient confidentiality by talking to them about Adam. But not only that, she has nothing to back up any accusations, suspicions, or statements that she has uttered about Adam. He subpoenas her therapy case notes and the case notes about Adam, whom Jody Hildebrandt has reported for being this sexual predator, one of the most dangerous people that she's ever met, that he's R-wording not only his wife, but his 1-year-old daughter. He's so sick and twisted and so great at manipulation that he is an active danger to the public. You would think Jody has 2 novel-length spiral notebooks on him detailing his sick perversions, but when he gets her notes, it's like this long. It's 1 page, not even. Adam is in here for marriage counseling, has some sexual issues that he wants to work on, aka staring 20 seconds too long at a picture of an unclothed woman on the internet. That's about it.
So these are being used in court.
Yeah, because he's like, I mean, this is not a good therapist. Like, this is crazy. She's levying all these accusations against me, and these are her notes on me. Like, I've told her nothing. She wasn't even Adam's personal therapist. He was part of group sessions, but he never really sat with her one-on-one.
Wow.
So he's like, suddenly you're just coming out accusing me of like the world's most heinous crimes out of the gate for no reason at all. There are also logs of emails between Jody and Mary where they collude on how to take Adam down, allegedly. There are emails of Jody coaching Mary on how to talk to authorities to make Adam look worse. It's not even just like, say this, but she's all present things as an inquiry, not in anger. When you present things to authorities, she's coaching her on her tone, her delivery. She writes, give the authorities the right thinking because they're not going to come up with those thoughts themselves. It's difficult when you begin to see what is really going on, to be patient with those who don't. Be direct and act inquisitive, not angry or defensive. Make them think that they came up with the idea.
This is the tactics of detectives. And the fact that she is using it on the police, or she is a manipulator because they're the only ones who can come up with this thinking. Because never did I sit down and was like, if I get ever questioned, I'm gonna do all this. What?
Idea themselves. Mary would email back, "Those suckers, they totally fell for it." Ultimately, Adam would not get custody of his kids, although he's in their lives now. Netizens theorize it's mainly because Mary and Jody are no longer in each other's lives, and Mary allegedly wants to focus on dating rather than her kids. So it's just better for Adam to take care of the kids, I guess, allegedly from her perspective. So he is in the kids' lives, but he doesn't have custody as of right now. He was also placed in jail for 7 days for breaking that restraining order. He was kicked out of university. He was hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt from legal fees. His reputation has been ruined. He has much more extensive PTSD than before his entire life was derailed by Jody Hildebrandt. I mean, the magnitude of courage and empathy that Adam has is pretty awe-inspiring. Even when talking about this incident on the Since Taken Down podcast by Mormon Stories, he never really blames his wife. He expresses a lot of pain and betrayal from her, but he actually shows a lot of understanding for her. He believes that Jody told his wife about all these unhinged, deviant crimes that Adam was allegedly committing, which he wasn't, which Adam has denied all of them to his wife, but she just thought he was lying. Adam says Jody would just have everybody just chopping off all the arms of support in their life until there was no one left to support you except for Jody Hildebrandt. Adam says Jody Hildebrandt is like Ted Bundy. She is completely pathological, and that lady is going straight to hell.
He's not suing Jody or going after her?
No, he hopefully he will, but he thought about going after BYU. Mm-hmm. They admitted him back into the school, but he didn't have time or money to hire babysitters or time for anything at that point. He was also too traumatized to go back to BYU. He thought about suing BYU. He asked, how would the settlement be paid?
He asked an attorney?
He asked the assistant dean of BYU, I believe. Mm-hmm. And she said it would be paid using tithes, which is offerings from the church.
So he doesn't want to use...
supposed to be used to help people that need it.
Yeah, he doesn't want to use
And he said then he didn't want to sue. So he says Jody's going straight to hell. And there's a road to hell, actually. It's called Hellhole Pass Road. Yeah, Hellhole Pass Road. That's the road name. It's dry. It's hot. It's like hell. The road runs through the Beaver Dam Mountains. On both sides of the road, you just see mountains, dry red rock mountains and desert scrub bushes. The road is gravel. It's completely uneven, and there's usually not a lot of cars going up and down the road. I mean, one does not choose to drive up and down Hellhole Road for fun, except for Jody Hildebrandt. She likes to bring her niece to Hellhole Pass Road, her 14-year-old niece, and make them run up and down. Run up and down the road until I tell you to stop. I don't care that it's 100 degrees in Utah. You have no shade, no water. Just run. Run for your sins or you'll go to hell. Licensed therapist Jody Hildebrandt has taken on the courageous task of helping her 14-year-old niece, Jessie, who goes by they, them pronouns, by the way. This is before Adam Paul Steed. They were also interviewed by Mormon Stories.
How old is...
Jody at the time? She was much younger.
Not Jody, the niece.
They were 14 when they first got taken in by Jody.
What about today?
Today they're probably...
fully adults,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, Jody is itching for a big project, and Jessie is her biggest one yet. Jessie is probably one of the biggest sinners that Jody has ever laid eyes on. What is the grave sin that they committed? Being too Mormon. Jessie, now adult, tells Mormon Stories podcast during an interview.
I've always been a very curious person and always I think very challenging in that way.
So both of their parents are super religious in the LDS faith and obviously very well connected. Jody is Jessie Hildebrandt's aunt. Jessie's father is Jody's brother, who also happens to be an attorney. So Jessie's father is Jody Hildebrandt's brother, and Jessie's father is an attorney. They say that they had a very typical, strict, conservative, LDS faith-filled upbringing. They say, this is talking about Jessie's mom. My mom is very docile, sweet, obedient, very efficient housewife. I mean, everything was always very clean and very organized and very efficient. I think I was kind of a wrecking ball to them, always asking why about everything. No answer was good enough, and it wasn't coming from a place of disrespect. It was genuinely, I didn't understand, and I was very curious about things. In Jessie's mind, this is true. The LDS faith is true. The Book of Mormon is true. Their entire family are devout LDS church members. Their logic is true. And they're thinking, I just need to find all of the supporting evidence to back it up now. I know a few people like that as well. Like they grew up in super religious. You can't watch Marvel movies because they're not rooted in faith. And there are just certain people that grow up like that but still want to know, but why? It's not that they're trying to be mean. It's not that they're like, I don't believe in this. It's just they want to know why for everything. I feel like you're kind of like that. You always ask why for a lot of things.
Yeah.
And it's not that they're challenging anything. Their brain just functions in a way where they want to know the reasoning behind every single thing that's done. Every tradition, there must be a reason for it. So Jesse says, asking questions, especially maybe higher esoteric unanswerable questions or questions that point out skeletons. Why weren't Black people allowed to have priesthood? Why weren't they allowed to be at the church for the longest time? What about sexism? What about race? Those types of questions you don't ask. You don't talk about it.
So this podcast also, are they dedicated to, are they
Mormon stories. I believe the host, I don't think they're ex-Mormons. I think they've been excommunicated, but
Well, we're gonna get into it in the next part. We're gonna end here, but that is crazy. You cannot ask why, because I am the why girl also. Like I was like, why? When I was young, I do that because I don't know. I I think I just wanted people to keep talking whilst I'm doing something else, right? Just to like occupy them with whatever shenanigan they're talking about. And either my mind is like roaming on its own and doing its own thing, or I'm just like physically doing something, and I just want them to just keep talking and rumbling, right? That is the way like I let people be, like older people, focus on whatever, and so I can like escape and focus on my thing, right? Because they wouldn't shut up. So I'm a why girl. I really like asking why. I didn't care though. I just kept asking. But when I was older, yeah, I'm more curious. I want to know. But this is crazy how like not only two lives have been affected by that evil woman, um but I think there's more. But I think this story of Adam and Mary is like maybe the second biggest after Ruby Frank, right? So that's why Stephanie's telling us, just so that we can see how evil she is. So I don't know if we're gonna add more stories of the people that she treated. Oh, this woman definitely going to hell. Definitely. Like no layovers. No layovers, just straight. Like straight flight to hell. But anyways, beautiful peeps, thank you, and I will see you in our next video, the continuation. Bye.